Hello, Threat Show. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is a beautiful Friday, December 12th, and oh my God, has it been a wild week in sports. It has been crazy. It has been exciting, and it has been everything that we expected it to be. Week 15 has come and gone. What a Thursday night football game that was. Kyle Pitts had 3 touchdowns. The Falcons had how many penalties? And what happened at the end of that game? We'll talk about that in a second. We'll go over the rest of the Week 15 game slate. We'll talk about who I have winning, who I have losing, and what that means for the playoff picture, as all but one game this week are implications for the NFL playoffs. Huge week for football. We'll also talk a little bit about the big story coming out of Indianapolis. Philip Rivers. Philip Rivers is back in the NFL. 5 years after he last played. We'll see if he is going to be able to do anything. If he's even going to start this week, could be Riley Leonard. We'll talk about that later. We also have to talk about some other sports because it's not just the NFL. There are other major sports happening. The MLB, the winter meetings going on. We talked a little bit about it in our last episode, but some big free agent signings, some closures moving around. The polar bear has a new home. They continue to migrate south. We'll talk about that, and we will do another one of Rob's rankings later on the show when Mehrob Fatemi, our co-host, goes through the top 10 NBA teams. But let's get started here with the NFL. The NFL is king, and we should treat it as such. The Falcons escaped Tampa with a win. Look, I have a lot of reactions to this game, but I'm going to tell you what my candid reaction was once this game ended. It was really simple. That was stupid. That game was so stupid. It wasn't a great game. I don't want to make this sound like I didn't enjoy the game because that was one of the better Thursday night football games we've gotten in a while. It featured a 14-point fourth quarter comeback led by Kirk Cousins, who just loves playing against those Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It features a Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that was finally healthy. But most importantly, and the thing that I think overshadowed it all, is it featured the refs. The refs were huge in this game, and I don't think the refs really knew what they were doing a lot of the time. There were a lot of crucial calls that, sure, maybe they got right, and they were real close. But there were a couple calls that I don't really know. One of the ones that stands out, the Falcons driving down the field down by 14 after an interception, a really great play by D. Alford to pick off Baker Mayfield late in that fourth quarter. Fumble by Mooney. Daryl Mooney fumbles the ball. 4 creamsicle jerseys all around Mooney, and the refs huddle up. They couldn't figure out who had the ball. They ended up giving it to the Falcons. They also do a very similar thing on a Kirk Cousins fumble on the final drive of the game, the one that ended up being the game-winning field goal, where they say, tie goes to the offense. And I've never, ever heard that in a game of football. I've heard something like that in baseball, tie goes to the runner, right? But tie goes to the offense? How do you have a tie with a fumble? You either have the ball or you don't. I don't think this is that crazy of a take. You either have the ball or you don't. How is it a tie? You don't both have the ball. One person has the ball. It's not like you're running to a place. Baseball, you can have ties getting to the base. It's not like you're running out of bounds. Sure, we had a little bit of that on the third Kyle Pitts touchdown. Looked like the elbow and the butt hit at the same time. Originally, that play was called incomplete, but I like the fact that they called it a touchdown on the field so that they could review it. I don't mind that being called a touchdown. The Falcons, for as unlucky as they seemingly were with penalties in this game, got a lot of breaks. They did. The Kyle Pitts third touchdown, which we'll get to Kyle Pitts in a second. The 2 fumbles in that fourth quarter that went their way when, maybe not. They should have, right? Especially that Mooney fumble. That one, I have no idea how they got that ball back, but I guess they did. I didn't even see an angle where they got the ball back. It looked like Mooney was shut out. Bijan Robinson hops on that pile later. That's a weird call. I don't understand that. But 19, let's go through this. 19 penalties for 124 yards. 19 penalties for 124 yards, and you win a football game. The Buccaneers have completely collapsed. They've lost 6 of their last 8 football games, and now the Panthers are sitting at first place in the NFC South. The Bucs were looking to clinch a pretty crucial game in that division. Not only to get a game up or at least stay tied if the Panthers were to beat the Saints this Sunday, but because that is a division game. And if you split the head-to-head with the Panthers in these next 3 weeks, which I think is very, very easily done, this is going to hurt the next tiebreaker, which is divisional record. You cannot drop these games. These are so important. They were healthy again for the first time. You saw the plays that Mike Evans was making. You saw the plays that Jalen McMillan was making, almost getting into the end zone. You saw what a difference it was when Baker has his whole cohort of weapons, because that team is full of weapons. Chris Godwin gets into the end zone. He's no longer getting double covered anymore. Abuka is still getting a lot of attention. He still had a pretty good game. Got up over 60 yards in this one. He had a couple of passes that, if they were in front of him, could have taken it a lot longer. It doesn't matter, though. This is not how you win football. I mean, it kind of is how you win football games. They just didn't do it. They didn't win the football game. This one doesn't make a lot of sense to me, this game. It doesn't compute in my brain how the Falcons escaped with a win, but they did. Let's talk about the Falcons a little bit. Kyle Pitts, his breakout game, it only took 5 seasons. It only took 4 seasons. Kyle Pitts, 11 catches, 166 yards, 3 touchdowns. I'm ready to give him Player of the Week already. Maybe that's a little bit preemptive, but shout out to Kyle Pitts for that. He is a guy that, of course, had all of this hype. This is the Kyle Pitts we've been expecting since he's been drafted. Contract year Kyle Pitts showed up. Contract year Kyle Pitts showed out. He's going to get paid simply because of tonight. He has so much upside. You see it all the time. And the Falcons were finally able to get at least one game out of him right there. 166 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's going to be the best receiving day of the whole week. Or if it isn't, someone else is going to have to go absolutely ballistic, which I guess is possible. I guess it is possible. But it's hard for me to imagine that someone is going to have as good of a day as Kyle Pitts did on Thursday night. There's something special about Thursday. We've had 3 touchdowns scored in each of the last couple Thursday night games by a person. Seems to be every week someone's putting up 3 touchdowns. It was Jahmyr Gibbs a couple weeks ago, last week, I believe, actually. Yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs last week, Kyle Pitts this week. We got a little bit of a streak going. Who's it going to be next week? We'll have to find out. Big for Thursday night football. That game was super fun. But again, that game was drunk. That game was stupid. That was my takeaway. This is a stupid game, but it was still a fun game. I'd love to hear your thoughts, though, because this was a wild football game. This was not the way that I expected the football game to go. Congratulations to the Falcons on spoiling Tampa. Tampa's in real big trouble now. The other big takeaway I had from this game is the Panthers are going to the playoffs. That was my original takeaway. But again, I'm taking a step back here, and I'm going to say because this game didn't really determine anything. This game gives the Panthers an advantage. For sure, it gives the Panthers an advantage. But let's think about this. They entered this week tied, right? They entered this week tied. The Panthers play the Bucs twice. They play them next week, and they play them week 18. Let's say the Bucs win both games. Let's just say they win both games. Give them the benefit of the doubt here. That gives the Bucs a 1-game lead in this division. It also gives them the tiebreaker over the Bengals. That's what it's going to take. Now, if the Panthers lose to the Saints this week, then this becomes a bigger conversation. They have to beat the Saints this week. This becomes a huge win because let's take a look at the rest of the schedule. Panthers versus Bucs next week. Panthers versus Bucs week 18. Then The Bucs have the Dolphins in Miami, and the Panthers have the Seahawks. That's not going to be a game that the Panthers win. I'm sorry, I like this Panthers team. That's not a game they're going to win. We can mark that down as an L right now. The Dolphins, they're hot right now. The Bucs are not. That one could go either way. But if the Panthers win this week against New Orleans in New Orleans, which hasn't been an easy place. We saw them lose earlier this season to the Saints already. That's going to be something to keep an eye on. They need the Bucs to win out against the Panthers. They need to win out against the Panthers. That's what it's going to take, because they can draw even in week 17. But it's just not going to make the difference. They need to win out. The Panthers have a huge leg up in that playoff race now. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think is going to happen in the NFC South now? Let's talk about some other games in the NFL, because Week 15 is officially upon us. And like I said in the intro, this is one of the biggest weeks that I can remember as far as playoff implications ever. This is a huge week in the NFL. A huge one. All but one football game this week has playoff implications. Again, we saw the Bucs and the Falcons. The Falcons, sure, they're eliminated, but the Bucs playing for their division, playoff implications. The Browns and the Bears playing for a playoff implication. Cincinnati and Baltimore, that's huge for their division. The Chiefs and the Chargers, that is huge for the Chargers and for the Chiefs, because if they lose this one, they're mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. Bills, Patriots, that's probably for the division. Giants, Commanders, that one means absolutely nothing. That's the only one. That means something for the number one overall pick, but for the playoffs, that means nothing. Eagles, Vegas, Eagles need it to win to probably clinch up the division. The Jags and the Jets, the Jags, looking to gain ground in the AFC South as that division looks wide open again. The Texans and the Cardinals, again, AFC South, wide open. Jags and Texans battling at the top there. Green Bay and Denver, both of those teams, first place in their division, looking for both the number one seeds in the NFL. Detroit and the Rams looking for their number one seed. Detroit fighting for their playoff lives. The Panthers and the Saints, we talked about the implications of that one already. The Titans and the Niners trying to get into the playoffs. They can't lose that one. The Colts and the Seahawks fighting for their division, the Colts fighting for their playoff lives. The Cowboys and the Vikings, Cowboys looking to stay alive in that division race against the Eagles. The Vikings trying to stay alive. I don't think they really got a shot. But the Monday Night Football game, the Dolphins against the Steelers. Steelers first place in their division. The Dolphins have, of the teams with a real long shot odds to get into the playoffs, the Dolphins have the best shot. Simply put, the Dolphins have the best shot. With the way this Dolphins team is playing, there's a chance they get in. All of these games have playoff implications. So let's break them down for you here as we go through our Week 15 NFL game picks. Cleveland travels to Chicago on Sunday, 1 o'clock, as we open up the 1 o'clock slates here. Chicago's favored by 7.5 in this one. We just saw a game where we saw Shedeur Sanders live up to every single piece of hype imaginable. That was against the Titans. Now, do I think he's going to regress this week? Yes. Do I think he's going to regress to the state that he was in his first start? Absolutely not. Because he is a good quarterback. He is not a great quarterback. He, to me, was a third-round kind of guy. He went where Dylan Gabriel went, is where he should have gone. Now, there's a lot of stuff to go with him. There's a reason he fell, and it's because there's a media circus around him. There is. Kevin Stefanski taking him out on that 2-point conversion to send that game to overtime was one of the bigger blunders of the season. You ruined a nearly 400-yard, 4-touchdown performance from your rookie quarterback. This Chicago defense, despite on the outside looking in being pretty good, is not that great. This is a Chicago defense that gives up a lot of yards. They thrive off creating turnovers. You cannot make a mistake. And that is where the Bears are going to take advantage of Shedeur Sanders in Cleveland. Because Sanders is going to make mistakes. He had a bad pick in that Tennessee game, but he had a pretty good game overall. He just needs to limit his mistakes. He needs to get that running game going with Quinshaw, Judkins. They need to get that defense going. This is a Bears team that's going to run you down, old school, absolutely grind it out kind of battle. I think Chicago wins this one, but 7.5 is way too many points. I'm taking Cleveland on the spread. Baltimore travels to Cincinnati. Joe Burrow, did you see his comments yesterday? He said, if I'm not having fun, then what am I doing? Why am I doing it? That is a man that sounds like he does not want to play football anymore. This is a massive game. If the Bengals win out, they have a chance at making the playoffs. And Joe Burrow sounded defeated. Joe Burrow sounded like he didn't want to be there anymore. That is not a good look. Tickets as low as $16 for what should be a huge game. Lamar Jackson's coming to town, guys. You got a battle of two of the top 4 quarterbacks in the NFL. Doesn't matter, I guess. Cincinnati, not favored in this one. The Baltimore Ravens are. The Ravens favored by 2.5 on the road, traveling to Cincinnati. The big question, the defense. They get Shamar Stewart back. The Baltimore offense has not been the same. Derrick Henry has struggled a little bit. Lamar Jackson clearly dealing with some kind of injury. He has not been 100%. That is something to keep your eyes on. He has not been fully healthy. This game is going to be, I guess, lower scoring. Baltimore needs this game to keep pace with the Steelers. Cincinnati needs this game to win out. T. Higgins is questionable. That Baltimore defense is able to be attacked. Jamar Chase loves playing that Baltimore defense. I am taking the Baltimore Ravens, though, in a little bit of a shootout. You know what? I changed my mind. I'm taking the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals win this game. It's going to be a close one, but I think the way that the Baltimore offense is playing, they're not going to be able to keep up with Joe Burrow and that offense. They're not going to be able to have a Josh Allen kind of day. They're going to need that out of Lamar Jackson. The Chargers travel to Kansas City. Kansas City favored by 5.5. They've been better at home all season long, but something is off about Kansas City this year. The Chargers, they don't have their offensive line, really, but Justin Herbert is playing like an absolute madman. They just come back from a big win against the Philadelphia Eagles, where their defense really kept them in it. Shout out to that Chargers defense. They're playing really good ball right now. The Kansas City Chiefs are desperate, though. The Chargers, they're kind of on that line for the playoffs. I think they're probably going to make it, even with a loss here, but it's not a guarantee. It's not a guarantee at all for the Los Angeles Chargers. Something to keep an eye on. Kansas City Chiefs are desperate. They already lost to the Chargers once. Mahomes won't get swept by a division opponent. I'm taking the Chiefs to win this one, but not by 5.5. The Bills travel to New England. Drake May, MVP frontrunner, at least second place. Buffalo favored in this one. I think that's a little bit weird. I know they lost last time. Stephon Diggs is coming for revenge. I'm taking the Patriots in this one. Taking the Patriots and the points. Giants take on the Commanders. No Jaden Daniels in this one. This is a battle for the number 1 overall pick. I think the Giants get revenge. The Commanders' defense is just atrocious. And because of that, I think the Giants win this one, squandering that number 1 overall pick, gifting it to the Washington Commanders. Giants win this one. The Vegas Raiders travel to Philadelphia without Geno Smith. They get absolutely pummeled. The Eagles win by $1 billion, and they clinch up that division. Eagles win. The Jets travel to Jacksonville. Jacksonville holds the Jets to nothing. They put up a lot of points. New York, not going to do it. Jacksonville wins by $1 billion. Jacksonville over New York. Arizona travels to Houston. They're not going to be able to put points up against that elite Houston defense. The question is going to be whether C.J. Stroud can put up points against a not great Cardinals defense. Houston wins by $1 billion. Arizona loses. Green Bay at Denver. This game of the week right here. Potentially game of the week. There's a lot of really good games this week. I think Denver's a little bit overrated. Green Bay is on fire right now. Jordan Love has turned it up a notch. He has his weapons back. Jaden Reed has returned. Christian Watson has returned. You can see how much of a difference it makes in that Green Bay offense when they have deep threats. Because Jordan Love, if there's one thing he likes to do, it's chuck that ball downfield. And that's not even gunslinger mentality. He doesn't turn the ball over. That's the most impressive thing. He barely throws interceptions, and he's got the highest average depth of target in the NFL by a very, very wide margin. The Green Bay Packers win this one, not by a billion, but just by a couple. They win this one, something along the lines of like 27-24. The Detroit Lions traveled to the Los Angeles Rams. It's always fun when you get a Stafford versus Detroit rematch. Stafford looking to win an MVP for the first time in his career. They're favored by 6. The Lions are desperate. They're hungry. They can't lose this game. They lose this game, they're probably out of the playoff race. It's that serious for them. The Rams lose this game, they're probably they're not out, but it's a real big blow for their divisional race right now. This one, game of the week. This one, game of the week for sure. The Detroit Lions travel to LA. I'm taking the Lions in this one. God, they're just so hungry. Jahmyr Gibbs is just so good, but this is going to be a barn burner. The Lions don't have corners. They're going to exploit that. Puka's going to have a big day. Stafford's going to have a big day. Devontae Adams is going to score a touchdown or two in the red zone. I'm switching my pick again. Give me the Rams. I keep doing this to y'all. Give me the Rams in this one. They're going to win this game. The Carolina Panthers travel to New Orleans. We just saw what happened in that Tampa Bay-Atlanta game. This is huge for the Panthers if they can win it. I think they take the momentum from last night. They take it into tomorrow, or on Sunday, in the 4:25 window, and they take care of business. They're not going to get swept by the Saints. The San Francisco 49ers host the Tennessee Titans. They win by a billion. This is not a game. The Indianapolis Colts travel to Seattle. Here is an interesting game. Phillip Rivers is back for the Colts. Phillip Rivers is back for the Colts. I repeat, Phillip Rivers is back for the Colts. That doesn't mean anything to me. Seahawks defense has allowed 9 points over the last 2 weeks. Seahawks by a billion. Colts don't have a defense. The end. Minnesota at Dallas, our Sunday night game. The Cowboys come off of a tough loss against the Lions. They look to rebound. It came out just before we went live. CeeDee Lamb officially active for this game. He will play. That's huge against a Minnesota defense that just decimated the Commanders. J.J. McCarthy just has his best game as a pro. Can he build off the momentum against an improved Cowboys defense, but not an elite Cowboys defense? I'm still taking the Cowboys in this one, but the Minnesota Vikings will give them a bit of a fight. I look to keep this game close. And then the Monday night slate. Monday night, we have the Miami Dolphins, red hot Miami Dolphins, traveling to the Pittsburgh Steelers to take on Mike Tomlin and the boys over there. The Pittsburgh Steelers come out of this game. The big question, TJ Watt. He had a scary situation at practice yesterday. He had to go to the hospital with a lung injury. We'll have to keep an eye on that. If he plays, I'm taking Pittsburgh. If he's not playing, give me the Dolphins to continue their hot streak and keep their playoff hopes, alive. Big game on Monday night. Big slate this week. This is one of the better slates we've had in a long time. Last week was tough, but this week should be a lot better. But let me know what your thoughts are. I'll run through the games one more time. I'm taking the Bears. I'm taking the Bengals. I'm taking the Chiefs. I'm taking the Patriots. I'm taking the Giants. I'm taking the Eagles. I'm taking the Jags. I'm taking the Texans. Those are all home teams. That's insane. I'm taking the Packers. One road team. Let's go, guys. We at least got one in there. Taking the Rams at home. Taking the Panthers on the road. That's 2. Niners at home. Seattle at home. Dallas at home. And Miami on the road on Monday. That is 3 road teams that I'm picking. I don't think that's enough, but sometimes that's just how it goes in the NFL. Crowds will be rocking. These should have playoff level atmospheres for a lot of these teams. This should be a huge week in the NFL. But let me know what your picks are. I'd love to hear them. Tell me where I'm right. Tell me where I'm wrong. I'll tell you why I'm right, and I'll tell you why you're wrong. But let's keep going here on the Triple Threat Show. We have a lot to get into. Let's talk a little bit about Phillip Rivers. I kind of glossed over it because this is a huge story. Phillip Rivers is back in the NFL. Phillip Rivers is back in the NFL. He is 44 years old. He is a grandfather. Now, I did some research on this because I, for the life of me, could not remember if there was another grandfather that ever played in the NFL. Turns out there was. Brett Favre played as a grandfather. Kind of similar situation. We saw something like this play out a couple years ago in Cleveland, if you remember. Joe Flacco returns to the NFL. Now, he wasn't 44, and he wasn't 5 years out of playing in the NFL, but he was a year or two out of playing in the NFL, and he was 39, 38. Flacco's still playing good ball right now. Got a couple wins this season for the Browns and a couple wins for the Bengals in Joe Burrow's absence. But Phillip Rivers makes his return. This, of course, is a tough situation. Daniel Jones, who was going to be the franchise savior for the Colts, goes down after playing on a broken leg with a Achilles tear. That's the second major injury he's had. Similar to that, he was playing through some tough stuff after he got his big contract with the Giants, tore his ACL. That's some context that people forget all the time. This is the second big injury for him, so hopefully he gets better and hopefully he can improve. This was his second season back from that injury with the Giants, so that's why he was looking a lot better. That's something to keep an eye on. Phillip Rivers at 44 wouldn't have been an option. He's the emergency option because Anthony Richardson is supposed to be on that team. But orbital bone fracture because he got into a fight with an elastic exercise band and the elastic exercise band won. That's unfortunate. That's a little bit of a mysterious injury. He's been out for a while. He's still on IR. That's a tough one to come back from. Riley Leonard, rookie from Notre Dame, who just led his team to the national championship game against Ohio State last year. He looked okay, but he's dealing with a PCL strain. Now, he practiced in full the other day. That's something to keep an eye on because they haven't committed to Phillip Rivers as the starter. That's something to remember. They haven't committed to Phillip Rivers as the starter yet. But Phillip Rivers, if he starts against the Seahawks defense, they're going to kill him. I like Phillip Rivers. Now, this is not going to be a let Phillip Rivers cook kind of offense. This is going to be a let Jonathan Taylor cook kind of offense. I wouldn't even be surprised if we saw a bunch of Wildcat stuff. Tyler Warren is a guy that was the emergency quarterback, famously played quarterback in high school, a little bit in college as a gadget guy. He's had a couple opportunities to play quarterback for this team already on trick plays, on Wildcat formations and stuff. So I think we see some of him in that game plan from Shane Steichen. But Phillip Rivers being brought out of retirement is really interesting because it brings out a whole nother question. First of all, does he play well? That's the number one question. Does he play well? Phillip Rivers at 44 has not played since the COVID season. Does he play well? I think he can play okay. He passed his physical. The Colts were excited with it. He still got it, apparently, with his arm. You're going to have to see it to believe it for me, but reports are he's still got it. He's still slinging a little bit. He's still got his accuracy. It's going to be short underneath routes. You don't want him with the ball in his hands. He's not mobile. This is a Colts team that loves to be mobile with their quarterback. Daniel Jones, a big piece of that. Riley Leonard can run. Anthony Richardson obviously can run. They don't really have a quarterback in Phillip Rivers that can run. That's something to keep an eye on. That's something to keep your attention on. How is this offense going to look different from Daniel Jones to Phillip Rivers, from 17 to 17? How is it going to look different? I think it's going to be a lot more traditional kind of offense. Your drop back passing game, your 2000s offense, your 2010s offense, not a lot of these RPOs, not a lot of these not a lot of these quarterback runs, stuff like that. It's going to be quick strike. It's going to be get the ball out fast. It's going to be a Tom Brady style offense. And I think that's going to be something that could work with the Colts. They have a lot of weapons. They have a lot of guys that you get the ball in their hands, they can go. They have a really good offensive line. That's something to keep an eye on. That's huge for Phillip Rivers. He's going to need that really good offensive line. But is he going to be successful? He'll be okay at best. He's not going to light the world on fire. He's not going to be Joe Flacco of the Browns in a couple years ago when he led them to the playoffs. But he could win a game or two. It's a tough schedule. it's a really tough schedule, and I feel kind of bad for him because when you look at what the Seahawks are throwing Phillip Rivers into, you've got the Colts this week. The Colts have the Seahawks this week. They've got the 49ers on Monday Night Football. They got the Jags, and they got the Texans. Now, the Texans, one of the best defenses in the NFL. Probably the best defense in the NFL. The Seahawks, not too far behind them. The Niners don't have a lot of their top pass rushers, but they're not a slouch when it comes to defense. And the Jaguars, their defense has been surprisingly good this year. Those are four at minimum, those are four top half of the league defenses. And the Colts are going to potentially throw Phillip Rivers against each and every single one of them. That is a problem. That is something we need to keep an eye on. But Phillip Rivers is back. I wish him luck. I don't think he's going to be so successful, though. But let's move on to some baseball news because Pete Alonso, the polar bear, has migrated south. 5 years, $155 million for the polar bear. The all-time leader in home runs for the New York Mets now leaves them to play for Baltimore. Baltimore gives him a lot of money. That's my big reaction to this. That is a lot of money to give to Pete Alonso. Now, Pete Alonso is good. There's no doubt about it. He's great, even. I love his defensive ability at first base. He's got a really powerful swing. Obviously, to be the all-time run leader for any team, you've got to have a powerful swing. The Baltimore Orioles add offense. The issue is that's a lot of money. That's over $30 million a year. That's more money than Kyle Schwarber got. I know Schwarber's a little bit older. The Orioles went after him, too. This seems like a consolation prize. Reportedly, the Mets did not even offer Pete Alonso. What are you doing? What are you doing, Mets? That's your guy. That's your all-time franchise leader in home runs. You disrespected him last offseason, by not giving him the money he wants, by not giving him the term he wants. I don't know what you're scared of with Pete. He's been nothing but Mr. Met for the last, really his entire career. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand it. It's a big old mess. People are on one of two camps in this one. I'm in the camp of it's going to be really good in the short term because this is a really good player. I agree with the Mets in the fact that I don't know how long he's going to be able to keep this up for. His numbers have been, I won't say consistently, but they have been dropping over the last few years. Slowly, but surely they've been dropping. And that's going to happen as a player gets older. I don't know if he's going to get power surge in Baltimore with how deep that field is, the dimensions of that field. That's a big field. He likes to hit him out to right field. That's a deep right field. I don't know if he's going to have that big drop-off, but that big power surge. But I do like a lot that he is going to be their first baseman. I like in general the moves that the Orioles have made. They bring in him. They trade for Taylor Ward. They give up Grayson Rodriguez, which is an interesting move if he's healthy. If he's not healthy, which according to sources that I've seen, the Angels didn't even need to do a physical. What's that about? That's insane. You might have just given out a really good asset in Taylor Ward for a guy that's never going to pitch for you, but I guess that's why the Angels suck. Not my call to make. If it was, I would have had him do a physical before I made a trade like that. But Mike Elias is having a good offseason so far. The Mets, on the other hand, are not. I like the signing, bringing in Devin Williams, but then they lose Edwin Diaz. He goes to the Dodgers. Sure, you replace him. Pete Alonso is gone now. There's still guys out there. There's still places you can go to replace Pete Alonso. You can go get a Kyle Tucker, and if I'm the Mets, that's what I'm saving all my money for. I am throwing every single piece of money I have at Kyle Tucker, and I'm saying, come join us. Come join Juan Soto. Come join Francisco Lindor, Come make a playoff run with us. Come join the New York Mets. I don't know if that's going to work, But Steve Cohen's got the money to entice just about anybody. I'm saying if I'm the Mets, the way to fix this offseason, put it all on Kyle Tucker. All on red. Kyle Tucker it is. $100, $100 billion. I don't care. Whatever it takes. If you're the Mets, go get Kyle Tucker. That's what it's going to take to preserve this season so far. It's a lot to look at, but Polar Bear in Baltimore. That's not the only big news. We had a couple other big moves. Suarez. Robert Suarez goes down to Atlanta. Elite closer. Atlanta loves getting elite closers from California. Iglesias over there had Kenley Jansen for a second. Now they go out and they get Suarez. Suarez was really good last year. This is a Braves team that I won't say their bullpen didn't implode. A lot of things went wrong for them last year. It wasn't really the bullpen, though. For sure wasn't the bullpen. This is something that, if we're going to be honest, it doesn't really move me. I like Suarez a lot. I think this is a really good signing for the Braves. 3 years, $45 million is a great price. A great price for a closer of his caliber. But for some reason, this doesn't move me. And maybe it's because I've been, used to the Braves getting elite closers in free agency like this, getting elite arms in free agency like this. But something about this move just feels off. And he's going to have a great season. I have no doubt about that. He's going to have an elite season. But I don't know if it's going to fix the Braves' struggles. Injuries have been a big issue. The offense has been a big issue. Outside of your top-line starters, the starting pitching has been a big issue for this Braves team. And I don't know if bringing in a guy like that is going to solve them. I like this move. I want to be very clear on that. I like this move. I like Suarez a lot. I just don't know if this is the right answer for him. But the winter meetings continue. We will have more on baseball coming up at a later date when we go over everything you need to know from the winter meetings once they conclude next week and free agency as well. Big moves, lots of stuff is going to continue to come. Look for a massive trade. Mackenzie Gore's name still on the market. The Orioles looking to add a top-line starting pitcher. Mackenzie Gore, can I interest you in him? How about Ranger Suarez? Can I interest you in him? Can I interest you in him? How about Framber Valdez? Can I interest you in him? They're going to get one of them. Maybe even two. We'll have to find out, see how it goes. What about Zach Gallen? Can I interest you in him? I bet I could. I bet I could. The Baltimore Orioles, they're still going to make some moves. We'll keep an eye out on MLB free agency, and we will update you on everything that is going on from around the world of baseball. But we're going to close the show, as always, with a special edition of Rob's Ranking. Not Rob, but me. Lapidus' List. That's what we're calling this. My top 10 NBA teams here in, the NBA. The NBA here is a little bit more than a quarter season done at this point, and I think there's a pretty clear hierarchy starting to form as we get overall in this league, and it's that the Thunder are the best team in the NBA by a very wide margin. They've won 16 straight games, so I'm not going to sugarcoat this. They're number one. They might not lose again. Who knows? There's a chance. But they're playing elite basketball. They haven't even had their full roster out there one time. It's a big mess. The Oklahoma City Thunder are the number one team in the NBA. But let's go all the way back. We're going all the way back to number 10 right now. Here's what I've got for you. Number 10 is the Orlando Magic. I'm a big fan of this Orlando Magic team. They've been hot as of late, 7-3 in their last 10 basketball games. Desmond Bane has really stepped up. They're dealing with an injury to Franz Wagner. It hasn't quite slowed them down. They're advancing in the NBA Cup, so shout out to them. They're playing great basketball. I really like this Orlando Magic team. Again, Banchero hasn't quite been himself, but that Desmond Bane trade has been huge for everything that they need to do moving forward. Big fan of the Orlando Magic. I'm moving up to number 9, where I have the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is a Timberwolves team that is Anthony Edwards and Anthony Edwards only. If it's Anthony Edwards having a good night, they're going to have a good night. But this is not a Minnesota Timberwolves team that I feel particularly strong about heading into the playoffs. They're going to be matchup-based, very, very matchup-based moving forward. Big fan of Anthony Edwards, not the biggest fan of this team. I've got the Lakers at number 8, and that might be a little bit low for this Lakers team, but I am concerned about the way this team is playing. LeBron James clearly is not the same guy, and that hurts my heart to say it. It really does. It hurts my heart to say that this is the Lakers, that this is where the Lakers and LeBron James are at. Luke is playing great ball. Austin Reeves is playing great ball, but the reason that I have him at number 8 and not higher is because of their defense. That defense is just not it. That defense is just not the answer. It's a big problem. They're going to let up a lot of points, and I don't see them winning an NBA championship this year with the way that defense is playing. Number 7, I'm going with the Boston Celtics. Red hot are the Boston Celtics right now. 7-3 in their last 10 again. They have been hot, hot, hot. That's what you want to see. It's not insane in a weak Eastern Conference to say that the Boston Celtics come out on top, even without Jason Tatum. It probably isn't going to happen, but there's a chance that Jason Tatum can come back for the playoffs. That's when he tore his Achilles. Achilles generally a year-long injury. Second round, maybe if they advance to the Eastern Conference Finals or the NBA Finals, they can find their way in there. They're the 3 seed right now, so they're at number 7. They're a very scary team. At number 6, I am going with the Houston Rockets. They're also hot. I like this Rockets team, but they survive a couple tough scares. I don't think they're quite fully in form right now. I like this Rockets team a lot. Again, big fan of this Rockets team, but they're not quite into that top 5. At number 5, I've got the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks, ooh, you want to talk about a hot team? That's the New York Knicks right now. They have Jalen Brunson. He's burning right now. He is having a really, really good year. Josh Hart has been kind of the heart and soul of that team. That team has turned around when he stepped in. I think a coaching change really did do wonders for that team. They're going to be a big threat in the East. And honestly, they're probably my favorite coming out of it right now. The Pistons still playing great ball. At number 4, we are going with the San Antonio Spurs. 9-3. 9-3 without Victor Wembanyama, and there's a chance he comes back for the game tomorrow. Something to keep an eye on for that Spurs team. Victor Wembanyama, depoy most likely when he comes back. But the way that those young guards are playing, Fox, Castle, and Dylan Harper, all of those guys, and really the depth on this team as well, are really stepping up. I'm a big fan of that Spurs team. We saw them go out and dominate last time out against the Lakers. They're up to number 4 on my list. Into the top 3, and I don't think this should surprise anybody what the top 3 teams in the NBA are for me. Number 3, we are going with the Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets have Nikola Jokic, and honestly, that's enough for them to be top 3 in just about any list because they have Jokic. But the people around him are playing great ball as well. Jamal Murray is having a resurgent season. He hasn't had this. This is his best season in a very, very long time. This is something to keep an eye on. The Denver Nuggets, for me, are the only team that I think can really compete with the Oklahoma City Thunder. We already established them at number 1, which means the Detroit Pistons are number 2. They've cooled down a little bit, but Cade Cunningham playing like an MVP. Cade Cunningham and Jaren Duran, those two guys together are a terrifying 1-2 punch right now. The Detroit Pistons are not going to be a team that slips quietly into the Eastern Conference. They're going to be a wrecking ball heading forward. I'd look for them to add another couple of shooters, just 3-point guys. They obviously lose a couple of guys off the court after they were about to sign them last year. 3-point champions that they lose. Just something to keep an eye on. This is a really great Detroit Pistons team, but Cade Cunningham can't keep doing it all. They remind me of the Cavs from last year a little bit, where they're going to have a really great regular season, but I don't know how well they're going to do in the playoffs. Eastern Conference Finals run, definitely in the cards. Finals run and a championship, I don't really know. I think the champions are coming out of the West either way. It's probably going to be the Thunder, my number one team. 16 straight wins, number one offense, number one defense. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander reigning MVP. They haven't had their full starting lineup yet, ever this entire season. They're off to the best start in NBA history, 24-1. I repeat, the best start in NBA history, 24-1. This Oklahoma City team is special. I've said it before, I'll say it again. They're going to finish with the most wins in NBA history. There's a chance they don't lose another game all season. Just that one blemish on their record, a 2-point loss to the Portland Trail Blazers, of all teams. That's where we're at right now. We'll run through the top 10 one more time. We've got the Magic at number 10, the Minnesota Timberwolves at number 9, the Celtics at number 8, the Lakers at number 7. Excuse me, the Lakers at number 6. Oh, where's my list at? Doesn't really matter. We'll run through the top 5 because I don't know where my top 10 went. Anyway, top 5, we've got the Knicks, we've got the Spurs, we've got the Nuggets, the Pistons, and the Thunder. Those are the top 5 teams in the NBA right now. We will keep you updated with everything in the NBA throughout the week. We will keep you updated with everything from around the world of sports throughout the week. A big weekend in football. Lots of playoff implications. A big weekend in baseball as the winter meetings finish up. Lots of implications for the future. CBA negotiations probably going on right now. We'll talk about that. We will talk about free agency as it continues to go. We will talk about the NBA as the NBA Cup finishes up soon. Lots of big games. We will continue to keep you updated on everything college football playoffs as they kick off very shortly next week. A week from now, next Friday, the first college football playoff game kicks off. We'll keep you updated for that. But thank you, everybody, so much for watching. We'll be back on Tuesday, talking everything from over the weekend. NFL, college football, doesn't even matter. We will be there to cover it for you.